Okay, we're in period 3 doing the lab called, I think it's called @counter. The directions are on our website, our Google Classroom. You can see we're going to build a matrix. We're going to build a two-dimensional array filled with @ symbols and dashes. So it's called @counter. So what we'll do is go around the matrix somehow and count ats. We're in the middle of our lesson on recursion. We're exactly probably right in the middle of recursion. And we'll have one recursive method in this. But again, this is one of my favorite short labs of the year. It has us create a matrix. It has us use nested loops, of course. We'll make a two-string method of a matrix. That's always tough. We'll even use random numbers. It's got so many good little aspects to it that are very important for the AP exam. Okay, so over in the class called @counter is where I'll start. I'll start with the constructor. Okay, we have one instance field, which is a string two-dimensional array called @mat. The job of virtually every constructor in the world, at least in our AP course certainly, one of the jobs is to initialize the instance fields. We just have one here, @mat. So we complete the instantiation. Can you type in @mat equals new string and give it the appropriate size? And then after we create the matrix, complete the instantiation, we want to loop through it and fill it with random occurrences of @symbols and dashes. Okay, an equal probability of @symbols and dashes. I cannot remember the last year we did not have a matrix in section 2 of the AP exam. I'm not broadcasting? Good. Okay, so again, you're going to have to write code that deals with matrices on section 2 of the AP exam. Even before it was part of the curriculum, we had a case study called Grid World in Java, which was more or less a matrix. It's only been part of the curriculum for about 6 years, but even before that, we saw matrices. So we complete the instantiation, and then we fill it. So I guess we're going to do a if and an else, and then the if maybe do @mat of RC, give that the I guess, and have the else give it the dash. Either give it a or a dash if we're reading the directions correctly. Okay, and that's our constructor. Again, can you create a matrix? And then use math.random, it says, to give us an equal probability of ats and dashes in our @mat, in our @counter two-dimensional array. Okay, so definitely a few ways to do it. You could get an int that's 0 or 1 and make zeros be ats and ones be dashes. You've done that, code like that, safely a couple dozen times this year. A lot, right? If int math.random times 2 equals 0, make it a at, else make it a dash. That's lovely. Whatever. You don't even need to do casting to int. You could just use math.random, because the range of math.random is 0 to 0.999. And we could just arbitrarily say anything less than 0.5, right, is an at symbol. Anything 0.5 or greater is a dash, right? The range of math.random is 0 to 0.999. Make half of that range the at, and half of that range the dash. That's lovely too. You've got to choose your way. If you don't like that, then you do int times 2, and if it's a 0, you make it at. If it's a 1, you make it a dash. You've got to be confident with this code, certainly in March. What do I have here? Extra parenthesis. Okay, and let's skip this recursive method count ats for now and go down to the toString. Okay, can you make a string that is all the elements of the matrix and return it? Can you make a string that consists of all the elements in the matrix and return it? You think about that while I give you a couple lines of code for your client, for your runner, for your tester, for your main. So if we get the toString working, we'll be able to see all the ats and dashes on our screen. The most common error this morning in periods 0 and 1 has been in the toString method, students trying to use the variables rows and cols. Rows and cols was created up in the at counter constructor. It's only visible to the at counter constructor. Several students in period 0 and 1, no kidding, said int r equals 0, r less than rows. Java's not going to like that. It's going to say I never heard of rows, because it can't see rows. Rows is local only to the at counter method. Its scope is only within the at counter method. So we have to do it the old-fashioned way. R less than at mat.length. This is a nested loop which you will have to use braces on. I won't for a second, but if you're a little bit ahead of me, you know you have to use braces on this nested loop. Because at the end of each row, you've got to add a line break, right? You don't want to, if your matrix is 10 by 10, you don't want all 100 ats and dashes on a row across your screen. You got to inject a new line character after each row. And that means you better have a brace. All right, I'm pretty sure you got to have a brace in this one. It's almost always safest to put a brace around your ifs, your elses, your fors, your whiles. So if you can get the constructor written, create the matrix that has dimensions rows by calls, and if you can get the toString written, you can see a bunch of pretty ats and dashes on our screen.